When we are working with Java, there are two different types of discrepancies can happen in your program. The first one is called an error and the second one is called an exception. Error basically indicates a very serious problems that is not possible to bypass at all. What does that mean? If the error happens, you need to rectify it in a proper way, otherwise your program will crash definitely. Some example of errors are virtual machine error, assertion error, IO error, AWT error, exception initialization, exception in initialize error. All these different things are example of error. Once it is occurred in your program, you have to modify your program and rectify the error properly. The second one is exception. Exception basically indicates some type of error which happens in special scenario. It may not happen in all the different types of execution of your program, but that happen on the special scenario, and it is possible to bypass those error or handle it properly without interrupting the program, without the crashing the program. Some example of exceptions are like arithmetic exception. For example, like arithmetic exception may happen when you want to divide some number by 0. Well, you may implement the division operation properly, but uh, the in all the different cases, in all the other cases, it is giving you the correct result. Your program is giving the correct result, but whenever the value of the denominator is 0, it is throwing an exception. So it is possible to bypass. Either you can bypass it by giving the user a correct or customized nice exception message, or you can give the user another opportunity to change the denominator value when executing the program. So your program is not crashed, but in the same execution, user has changed the denominator value and your program is running properly once again. The similar type of things can happen in many different cases. For example, there can be null pointer exception, class cast exception, then array index out of bound exception, string index out of bound. All are different types of exception based on scenario. There are several IO exception possible, means input and output exceptions also possible, which happens based on the situation. For example, end of file exception or EOF exception. That is, you are trying to read a file which already reached the end. So at that point, only at that point of time, you got an exception. There can be file not found exception, means you are trying to read or write in a file which is not present in the path that the user specified. So what you can do, again, you can give a customized error message, or you can give the user another opportunity to change the path so that your program runs smoothly without crashing. Just changing the user value, you can handle it. So in summary, an error basically indicates some serious problem that a reasonable application should not try to catch, should not try to handle or bypass it. Whereas an exception happens on the based on the conditions or based on the situations, not always. And a reasonable application might want to catch it and bypass it and handle it in a proper fashion without crashing the program.